Hello, and welcome to the PRSS 106 Provider Management Scheduled Processes training session. During this session, we'll show you the types of scheduled processes and triggers used in the provider management area of PRSS. Our agenda for this session will be scheduled processes overview and user guide practice. Our learning objectives for this session will be to understand the types of scheduled processes, understand the triggers for scheduled processes, and to find key details in the Virginia Provider Management Scheduled Processes User Guide. First, we will look at the scheduled processes overview, types of scheduled processes, triggers of scheduled processes, and scheduled processes relationships. Scheduled processes are established in PRSS to process provider data in a timely fashion. There are three types of scheduled processes. Some are system processes, and these are generally back end processes that update, create, or run certain activities. A few examples are the provider screening and credentialing, creation of provider management workflow items, and the data updates for provider management, provider portal, or MCO portal. Some scheduled processes are used to generate notifications to providers and stakeholders. Letter generation includes the creation, storage, and delivery, which would be mail or email based on the particular trigger. For example, when a provider enrollment is approved, a welcome letter is generated, mailed to the provider, and stored in the project repository. Other scheduled processes are used to generate reports on essential business functions. These reports are then used by DMAS employees to comply with the program's rules and regulations. When a report is generated based on a certain event, it is stored in the project repository where it can be retrieved. When a report is user generated, it's available for download immediately from PRSS. Scheduled processes can run at set times or be triggered by certain events. When they run at set times, this is often referred to as running in batch cycles. The cycles can be daily, such as the welcome letters and terminate provider process, weekly, like the provider termination report and weekly enrollment provider reports, monthly, like the provider license renewed and provider death data report, or annually, like many of the finance reports. When scheduled processes run due to set events being triggered, they are referred to as running event triggered. These event triggered events can be system generated, like when a provider update is submitted in the provider portal and the system generates a provider management workflow. They can also be user generated, like when a DMAS user clicks a button in provider management to generate a duplicate SSN report and registered provider report. Some scheduled processes use the same data sets and can trigger other events to occur. For example, if a provider's license number expires, an expiring license number notification is sent to the provider as part of a daily scheduled process. The explanation or the expiration also triggers this information to be included in the monthly license termination letter report and the monthly expiring license report. When the number expires, it also triggers the start of the termination process in the system. During this process, it triggers a termination notification to be sent to the provider as part of a daily scheduled process. This termination is also reported in the weekly provider termination report. So now we're going to take a minute to recall what we've just gone over. So we're going to answer a few questions. Scheduled processes always generate documents. Is this statement true or false? The correct answer would be false. System processes may update data, run screening, or create workflow items. Question 2. All reports generated by scheduled processes may be viewed through ECMS. Is the statement true or false? The answer to this would be false. User interface reports are not stored in ECMS. File drop location, where the output files are located. These are technical responses and are often connected to ECMS. Question 3. All scheduled processes are set to run at certain intervals such as daily, weekly, monthly, or annually. Is this true or false? And the correct answer would be false. Processes may be triggered by times or events like provider location change. Scheduled processes can run based on a set time frame or a set event. That would be event triggered. And our last question for this set. How often does the terminate provider process run? Is this daily, weekly, monthly, annually, or event triggered? And the correct answer would be daily. If you need more information, you can refer to section 7.21, Terminate Provider Process, in the user guide. Next, we are going to reference the user guide. We are going to look at scheduled processes for the revalidation due notification letter. We're going to look at the description, purpose, job completion, status, frequency, output files, log, and file drop location. If you have the Provider Management Scheduled Processes user guide available to you in paper or the virtual guide, please feel free to follow along with me. If not, you can just watch as we demo this for you. So we are going to go over to our user guide. So what I want to talk to you about when we start with the user guide, at the beginning, we can either scroll through this user guide. If you have it in a Word document, you can go up here to where it says View, and you can also select the navigation pane to show, which is going to show the navigation in the left-hand side of this document. So we've already done that. Also, we are going to look at, we selected headings. We can select pages, we can select results, but we want to search in our headings area. So what we're looking for is our revalidation due notification letter. I see I did a little bit of a typo. All right, so this will bring us, if we search for it this way, it will bring us the results over here in the left by the section. We also can see that we can just scroll down to the table of contents and look through and then scroll down to find it. But I'm going to use our navigation over here, and I'm going to, I know that this is, what I'm looking for is 5.10. So I'm just going to double click here. That's going to take us to the section that we're looking at. So the revalidation due notification letter. So you can glean all the information that you need if you're looking for information on that revalidation due notification letter. You can go through all the details here, but I want to point out to you that each scheduled process starts with a description of the job that runs, and then also each scheduled process has a table with key fields, and that table is at the end of the description. So for the revalidation due notification letter, notice we have the purpose, we have job completion status, we have output files, and we have that file drop location. So we are going to look at the revalidation due notification letter in a little more detail. So we're going to go back to our PowerPoint slides. When the system identifies that providers need to go through the revalidation process, it triggers a series of scheduled processes. At 90 days prior to the due date, the system triggers two scheduled processes. The system sends a revalidation due letter to the service location using the preferred contact method, which would be mail or email, that would be identified during enrollment. And also, if this is the service location's first notification, the provider's revalidation password is sent as a separate letter or email based on the preferred contact method. And then at 60 days prior to the due date, the system identifies providers who have yet to submit a revalidation and sends another revalidation due letter. At 30 days prior to the due date, the system identifies providers still have not submitted a revalidation and sends a third revalidation due letter. What I want you to notice here is the only time that they are going to receive the password, the revalidation password, in that separate letter or email is that first contact, which is at that 90 days prior to the due date. When the due date has passed, a provider has not submitted a revalidation, the terminate provider scheduled process is triggered. The system also identifies when the individual within a group revalidation is due. The system then will look for an authorized administrator for the individual within a group. If one exists, this triggers the individual within a group revalidation due letter to be sent to the authorized administrator. So that would be this first section right here. So individual within a group revalidation is due. Do they have an authorized administrator? If it's yes, that individual within a group revalidation due letter is sent to that authorized administrator. If the answer is no, if one does not exist, the system then looks for a targeted affiliated group or TAG. If it's identified by the individual within a group. If an affiliate exists, this triggers the individual within a group revalidation due letter to be sent to that TAG. So if the answer is yes, then that revalidation due notification letter is sent to the TAG. If an affiliate does not exist, so the answer would be no, this triggers the individual within a group revalidation due letter to be sent to the individual within a group. What I want to note here is that a TAG, or Targeted Affiliated Group, is defined by the most recently added active service location. All right, so what we want to do now is we are going to do some practice in the provider management scheduled processes user guide. Again, if you have that virtual document, you can go ahead and follow along with me in your virtual document, or you can just navigate, just watch as we navigate in the session here. So the you try activity, we are going to locate the provider termination report, and the question is how often is it scheduled to run? And then next we will locate the provider welcome notification letter and answer how many welcome letters will a newly enrolled or re-enrolled provider receive. Okay, so we go back to our user guide. We are going to use our search navigation up here. And so the first thing that we are going to look for is that provider termination report. So we're going to type in provider termination report. Let's see what we have. Okay, so we have several things to choose from when we're searching for that provider termination report. So let's see, what is our best option? I know that if I scroll clear down to the bottom and I go to Appendix C, so I can choose any of these options that are highlighted here. Expiring provider enrollment reports, that's not really what I want. I can go to 6.13 and read about the provider termination report, but I do know that if I go down to the Appendix C, it is, if that's the only question I need to answer, there it is. The provider termination report is run weekly. Okay, so then our next question was locate the provider welcome notification letter. So again, I can go up here to my navigation or my search bar, and I can type in provider welcome notification letter. Spell it. Let's try it again. There we go. Okay, so again, we can see that in our table of contents that we can scroll to 5.4 and read about the provider welcome notification letter. In my search, I can also click on this 5.4 result that I have, and that's going to take me to the re-enrolled provider welcome notification letter. I can read all of the information here. What I'm looking for is a single welcome letter with multi-locations or an individual welcome letter for each location. So there are two types of welcome letters, but let's keep looking, and we can scroll down and we can see more information. But what we do know here is that it states up in the body a single welcome letter with multi-locations and an individual welcome letter for each location. So the correct answer to this would be 1. Okay, so let's go back to our PowerPoint slides. How many welcome letters will a newly enrolled or re-enrolled provider receive for the Virginia Medicaid program? And the answer to that, as we stated, would be 1. And then our next question, how often is the provider termination report scheduled to run? And we had the answer to that. Is it daily, weekly, monthly, annually, or event triggered? The correct answer would be weekly. Remember, we went down to the appendix and found that answer there. Okay, so the next activity we're going to do is we are going to go back to our provider management scheduled processes user guide to look for the expiring license number notification letter report. And the answer that we want to find is how often is this expiring license number notification letter report scheduled to run. So let's go back over to our user guide. Again, we're going to clear our search and we will, up in our navigation search bar for our document, we are going to start typing in expiring license. And notice we can just type in expiring license and it's going to bring us several different options to search from. But to get a more refined search, we're going to type expiring license number notification. And notice I don't really have to type in, let's type it in correctly. I don't really have to type in anymore because it's taken us down to Appendix C. And if this is all we're looking for is how often this expiring license number notification letter is set to run, we can see that that is set to run daily. So we will go ahead and exit out of this navigation. Again, this navigation is available if this is a Word document. In the virtual document, if it's a Word document, we can use this type of navigation. We can always just simply go up to our, let's scroll down a little bit, our table of contents, and we can search from here and then just scroll up and down in the document to find what we want, just like we would a paper guide. But this navigation makes it really easy as long as we are using the headings to search for what we want to see. And again, if we want to see Appendix C, because I know everything I want to see is just how often these reports are run, I can just type in Appendix C, scroll down here, it is Appendix C, and it will take us down to see many scheduled process and reports and how often that they are, the frequency that they are scheduled to run. So that is just a real brief navigation through our scheduled processes user guide. So I hope this has been helpful. We're going to go back to our PowerPoint. So we're going to answer this question. The last question was, how often does the expiring license number notification letter run? And the answer to that we found in Appendix C was daily. All right. So our course summary for this session is we went through understanding the types of scheduled processes, understanding the triggers for scheduled processes, and then we went through finding key details in the Virginia Provider Management Scheduled Processes User Guide. I hope this session has been helpful for you. And congratulations, you have completed the Provider Management Scheduled Processes session, PRSS 106. Thank you.